Good afternoon, YouTube. I'm still at Taylorsville MetroPark, and I have arrived at my destination for the day I wanted to show. This is historic Tadmor. This used to be a canal town, to get, freight back and forth. Right here is where I believe the Miami-Erie Canal used to be at. See right here. Here's some remnants of it. Right here, but after the 1913 flood occurred, here's the blue blaze right here indicating the Buckeye Trail. After the flood of 1913 occurred, this was deemed uninhabitable because it was just too close to the river right here, and of course the 1913 flood washed it away, and then they built the dams, which Taylorsville Dam is right by here. But putting a levee on this location was never practical. Here's a bridge that used to exist. This is one of the bigger remnants that still exists. I believe this was I'm not exactly sure what kind of bridge this exactly was precisely, but yeah, I believe it was for cargo. But once the flood happened, due to the location of this on the river, it was just not practical to really try and maintain this any longer. And I'm gonna get a little view of this right here. And here is the bridge. The sign for Tadmor was back there, but here was one of the bridges that stood across. I believe this was the Miami-Erie Canal, which this bridge I believe was used to get over that, and the Great Miami River down there, which I'll show that again briefly in the video. But yeah, this little burg was just not going to be habitable again. This, I believe, was established in the early 1800s, maybe 1830s. And it was mainly used as a canal place for the keel boats, that type of stuff. And once the, railroad came along, obviously river transport became pretty obsolete, because obviously it's much faster to get stuff via the railroad. Here's some other remnants down here. I'm going to try and see what those possibly are, but it just was not practical to still use railroad. I mean, not railroad, but it was not practical to really use the canal or the boats when you had the quicker option of railroads being available. And this is on the Buckeye Trail, as I mentioned. And then don't let this deceive you. Even though this river seems like it's a decent way away from the trail right here, this still floods this area a lot, which is why this area was never savable right here. So 101 years ago, when all the rain happened, I believe it was around mid-March or late March of 1913. I heard that there was around 8 inches or something like that of rain, and of course we didn't have the dams then, and the ground was obviously still frozen because of the winter, and there was really nowhere for the water for here to go throughout many parts of Dayton and beyond the areas where the 1913 flooding existed, and it touched many other areas. Middletown and Piqua were two other areas that were greatly affected by the flood of 1913. I did some videos in Piqua back in August in the summertime, and but I'm not going to focus too much on that. But yeah, Piqua was another one that was really badly affected, and the section And Pickwa that I filmed, that's an area that frequently, you know, gets under water. But I'm going to explore more of this, you know, Tadmor village. But I wanted to show you guys where the water just absolutely overflowed and ruined this area after the flood that came. Here's the covered bridge once again. There's a few other monuments that are still, you know, visible. Overall, not a whole lot has really left of this right here. Sellu West Gate, whatever this gate used to be, but obviously remnants of it right down here. And I'm not sure where the houses were at on this part of the park, on this part of the thing. I'm going to try and show where the plaque is at, if I can show it, but there's really not much of Tadmor left. I believe there's some remnants of, or it mentions an old post office further up here, but yeah, you could see where the river, once again, it would just, you know, ruin this. And after, I believe that's still the remnants of the Miami-Erie Canal. It's hard to believe you could have ever got a boat through there, but obviously nature was allowed to take it back right there. And here, right here, might be another remnant of the flood, whatever this is right here. But nature, here's a little bit of a wider view of the canal, but obviously nature took it back. There's the blue blaze again. As I said, this is located on the Buckeye Trail here. It's pretty quiet day to day. I've only seen a few people back here, but if it was summertime, there'd be a lot of people riding the bike along the bike path, obviously, but not today. I'm gonna walk a little bit further, see what else I can find, what other monuments of Tadmor that still would exist. If not, I'll turn around, but I'm trying to make this only a one-part video on this, but we'll see what happens. Oh, I believe I see something else coming up here, but yeah, here's the view of the river again. And then you can tell that river does not have much ground between right there and where that was at. Obviously, trees, I believe, have taken over where the canal, you know, used to be. A squirrel going up the tree, can't really see him. You also got some black squirrels in this park too, as well. Post office store, so there used to be a post office and a store right here. I assume this was part of the area where the store was at, obviously. So yeah, it used to be a post office and a store right here. And if you guys watch my video of Clifton Mill, I can only imagine the post office was very similar to that, you know, little village post office. Not a very big one. C bridge right here. So this used to be a bridge for the canal right here. Excuse me there, this remnant right here. I'm gonna walk a little bit further, see what else I can I can find on this. I'm going to hopefully make a quick excursion over to the bike path to find the trail or the historical marker so you guys can get a good idea of when this was built. But I believe this is the very last part of Tadmor, if I am not mistaken. Yeah, this I believe was the Miami-Erie Canal right there. Yeah, I believe that was it right there. But I'm going to turn around and see if I could get on the bike path and find the historical, you know, marker right here for Tadmor. This is kind of going to be retracing what I filmed at the beginning of the video. But yeah, but after, as I mentioned, after the flood happened, the railroad, I guess, I'm going to say it was probably, it could have even been right here, or it was probably where the bike path is at. It was moved further up west to higher ground, so then that way when the river flooded, it could not affect this. Here's the C bridge here once again. Not sure how many bridges there was here, but as I showed just a couple minutes ago, there used to be a post office and a store right here. And what I looked online, there was only one video for Tadmor online, at least when I typed up Tadmor. But maybe if I looked up Miami-Erie Canal, there might have been something about that. And somebody covered this area briefly, but I don't know he really provided that much information. I've researched this a little bit the last few days, but yeah, this area was a very important, you know, in Ohio's early transportation history in the 1800s, and then after the flood ended, it just, you know, wiped this little town out. If I can find some pictures of what this town looked like when it was still built, I'll post the link to it with the video upload. But yeah, this is a very nice little area right here. I'm gonna have to wait a few minutes to try to get on the bike path here. I'm not gonna really try going up that right here, but I'll find a way up there, and you guys just enjoy my walk as I walk along. I haven't really seen any animal tracks, but I think unless there's a bunch of rain with all the leaves on the ground, it's kind of harder to see them. But might be a couple right there. There's also some coyotes in this area. Now, don't be scared of coyotes, people. They're just, the only way they bother you is if you're feeding them. They don't like human interaction, so. But yeah, sometimes when the railroad goes past, you'll hear the coyotes howl. There's a blue blaze again for the Buckeye Trail. Salus Gate, I don't know how the hell that word is pronounced, but it's not really important. But yeah, here's the bridge, you know, once again for the area. Hopefully I can get a shot of the Ohio historical marker on this video, because I know it's up that. Oh, I think I could get up there. It's over that way because the bike path takes you right up to there, so I'll be able to get you guys a shot of that right there. But yeah, so a bike path allows you to go off the trail for the marker. There's the beginning of Tadmor, so you guys can find this. Obviously a service drive right down there. Obviously you can see there's some pretty fresh wheel tracks down there. So yeah, unfortunately there is a tire that is buried right there, unfortunately. Sad to say, but here's another sign up here that says welcome to Tadmor. Picnic table up here as well. I'm going to take a look at this side of Tadmor in this video to see what I can find as well. This will be on the bike path side of it. I'm going to see what else I can find before I turn around and I end this video. The water treatment plant over there on the other side is neighborhood, along with Castle Hills Golf Course. But here you go. Welcome to Tadmor right here. Just see if I can find that historical marker right here. So here you guys get another view of the bridge right here. Hopefully I can get a sill loose gate, so the other side of this, hopefully I can find that historic plaque right here. No, it's got to be somewhere here up ahead. Obviously the bike path is going to be pretty quiet during the colder months unless we get an unseasonably warm day. But if it was probably close to 55 or 60 degrees, I would not be surprised to see people out here take advantage of it. Yeah, there's the sign that says Great Miami River Recreational Trail and Taylorsville Dam parking lot 1.3 miles, and then the Fishburg parking lot 4.5, then Island MetroPark, which is just north of downtown. But yeah, I'm going to walk along this for a few minutes to see if I can't spot the Ohio historical marker for this area. It's a pretty nice bike path, but unfortunately, due to its close proximity to the river, it tends to be very flood prone. Unfortunately, oh, here's the Ohio historical marker coming up here on the left in about 20 or 30 seconds. And I'm going to turn around and then I'm going to end this video and then head out of here. Yeah, you can see the power lines right here. I think this is probably the best time of year to show this because of the remnants of this right here. But yeah, here's you guys a shot of the historical marker for Tadmor. So focus on this for a minute here. Ohio historical marker, the village of Tadmor. I'm going to read this. The village of Tadmor is significant as being one of the most important centers of transportation in the early Ohio history. As early as 1809, keel boats were pulled up river from Dayton to load and unload freight in the village. By 1837, the Miami and Erie Canal had reached Tadmor, connecting it to the Ohio River to the south, which is near Cincinnati, and Lake Erie to the north, which is by Toledo, and connecting it to the points east and west, obviously referring to National Road. In 1851, the Dayton and Michigan Railroad established freight and passenger service to help the growing town. Residents hoped that Tadmor's strategic location would help it prosper. However, successive flooding on the Great Miami River stifled growth. Tadmor was finally abandoned when a dam was constructed by the Miami Conservancy, district in 1922 to retain water during flooding, made the site uninhabitable. So this marker was 2006. So I'm not sure when this was declared a historical site. The plaque says 2006, so possibly then. But yeah. So right here, this is where the original US 40 would have been at. People on both sides of it. And I mean, you've seen in my other videos as the trail on the other side of the park ends going east to west briefly across the field. That marks the original National Road. That marks the original National Road. But obviously when this happened, they had to divert the road. I really don't know if I honestly don't know if there would have been any really practical options to keep the old National Road without building the dam, but maybe they might have felt that it would have disturbed the habitat too much. And obviously back in 1913 and in the 1800s, America was not very well built up. We were still a very young country. And obviously when the canal boats in that area first started to discover this area, 1809, I would like to point out that Dayton's first neighborhood, the Oregon District, was not established till the late 1820s or 1830s, which the Oregon District is in the southeastern part of downtown, which I've did multiple videos of that, which is a beautiful neighborhood. So this was around, as a transport hub or whatever before Dayton's first neighborhood was built. Now, I really don't know where some of the first houses were at in this area because the two towns, Vandalia and Huber Heights, were not established by then. So I really am not sure where the first houses were established at. If anybody has any information on when the first houses were established anywhere within 5 miles of either direction from this park. And this is in the north central portion of Montgomery County. You only got to go about 2 miles north of here and you're in the Miami County area. But the Miami County area, and then you're into Tip City. The first major road that it crosses the bike path, I believe, in the Miami County, I believe, is Old Springfield, I believe, is still in Montgomery County. Possibly Ginghamsburg Road that goes underneath. But yeah, here's more views of this right here. More of this old bridge that was clearly used for the canal right here. And I'm pretty sure that was a canal. So anybody that has any, information on where the first houses were at within 5 miles of here in this area, please post a comment on the video. And the people at Five Rivers MetroPark or any other people that would have any other knowledge, please post it. It's possible I may come back and do a second edition of this when I get more information, but I feel like I presented a pretty good, amount of information. But it's just amazing that this little burg is 205 years old and was established long before Dayton, you know, had its first, you know, neighborhood. And about 20 years before. So yeah, this tells you about how far this actually dates back in history. But I'm gonna get ready to end this one. I'm gonna start another one as I'm heading, you know, south now. But yep, this was the Tadmor area right throughout there. A definite part of history that unfortunately probably many Ohioans or many people do not even know about. But that's it for this one.